Hi, I'm Andrea and I'm a college student.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi. Okay, so my story is I was a victim of physical abuse from my former boyfriend. It all started when he was going through a phase of drinking excessive amounts of alcohol every night. He would come home drunk from his friend's house and be angry of God knows what, and would use his anger on me and hit me and abuse me.
How are you dealing with it?
I did form anxiety. I do get some tension when I'm around new guys because I don't know, it's scary. Guys have a lot of anger and they're pretty powerful, so they could come at you at any time, especially when they're under the influence of substance such as alcohol. But I do go to counseling now, and I do talk to a counselor to let my feelings out, and that is helping, I guess. But that is why I'm here.
Hi, my name is Liliana.
Hi, Liliana.
Hi. So I am here today to tell you guys that I was emotional and physical abused by my husband when I was married. He had a really strong attitude. He wouldn't let me go out with my friends or hang out with my family. He will get mad at me if I did anything wrong when it came to cooking. Every time when he came home, he would hit me, slap me, kick me. So I decided to leave him and move on with my life. So I'm starting a career right now because I want to be a professional. I don't want to depend on anyone. That's pretty much it.
How are you dealing with that right now?
Right now, I have the support of my family, so I'm getting help from them. They support me on everything by helping me out with anything that I need.
Hi, I'm Brooke, and I'm a college student.
Hi, Brooke.
Hi, Brooke. I was sexually assaulted at a party, and it was a really traumatic experience. I can't sleep anymore. I have anxiety, and I suffer from depression, and I don't even like to leave my house. I get scared, around a lot of people. I can't trust anyone, and it was just really hard for me.
And how are you dealing with that now?
Well, I'm taking medication and going to counseling and trying to just get over it, but it's really hard.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
I had to deal with neglectful parents as a kid. They didn't really care much about me. They didn't really pay attention to any of my medical needs. If I was ever sick, they would just kind of leave me at home. Or if I ever had to go to school, they wouldn't really care much, and they didn't really give me that emotional support that I needed. And that's influenced me a lot right now because I deal with chronic depression and ADHD, and yeah, it's been pretty difficult.
Hi, my name is Liliana, and today I'm going to be talking about emotional and physical abuse in marriage. Physical and emotional abuse goes hand in hand in many relationships. In fact, it's rare to find physical abuse without the presence of emotional abuse, aka mental abuse. Emotional abuse can lead to many things that can affect you physically and mentally, but that's not all. It can also affect your family. Emotional abuse leads to lack of self-worth, lack of independence, feeling like you're nothing without that relationship. surprise and confusion. Emotional abuse cuts to every core of a person, creating scars that may be far deeper and more lasting than physical ones. Physical abuse is any intentional and unwanted contact with you or something close to your body. Sometimes abuse behavior does not cause pain or even leave a bruise, but it's ill. It's still unhealthy, or even leave marks. Examples of physical abuse can be scratching, punching, slapping, or use of a weapon. Many survivors of physical abuse say that the violence starts small with just a slap or a push, then it gets worse. An abuser will often blame something or someone for the abuse, including blaming the victim for saying or doing something which caused the violent behavior. Sometimes the abuser will excuse their behavior as being a result of alcohol or drugs, stress, or frustration. The abuser will quite often regret their actions, which makes it more difficult for the victim to leave the relationship. If you're on a relationship like this where you're feeling like you're being physically abused or emotional abuse, look for help. It's the best thing to do. You can talk to your friends about it, your family members. Take care of yourself. Remind yourself that the abuse was not your fault. Physical and emotional abuse isn't something that you shouldn't have to deal with on your own. The right support will make handling the situation much easier on you. There are a number of services which you can call and get help. If you need someone to talk to, there will always be someone there. You just need to find the right person.
Hi, I'm Brooke, and I did sexual abuse among college students. Sexual abuse in college is way underreported, and I don't think it's paid enough attention to. 1 in 5 women will be raped during their college experience, and 1 in 16 men will be raped during their college experience, and then 1 in 71 men will experience some sort of sexual abuse in their lifetime. Only about 20% of sexual assaults are reported from women in college, and then 32% of women that are not in college report the sexual abuse if it has happened to them. Female college-age students are 20% less likely than non-college female-age students to experience sexual abuse, which is shocking. I thought that it would be opposite. And then male-age college students are 78% more likely. Victims of sexual assault or rape usually know their rapist or they're the person that has assaulted them, and more times than not, it is an intimate partner. And only 25% of reported assaults lead to arrest. So many people don't report if they have been sexually assaulted because they're afraid of many things. They're afraid. A lot of people don't want to get their assaulter in trouble. They don't think that the police can help, and they're too scared to even admit that anything has happened to them. 21% of rape victims are currently suffering from depression, a major depressive episode, and 30% will experience a major depressive episode in their lifetime if they have been raped. Physical after effects of rape are disrupted sleep, jitteriness, muscle cramps, and no sexual drive. And there's many mental after effects like PTSD, depression, and just many other things.
Okay, I'm going to be talking about physical abuse specifically among college students. So what is physical abuse? Physical abuse can be defined as any intentional act causing injury or trauma towards another individual. So let's talk about college students in relationships. Studies have shown that abusive behavior experienced during childhood can affect someone's developmental pathways as they grow older. And this is a problem because this can increase the risk of developing IPV when that person is older. And IPV stands for Intimate Partner Violence. And intimate partner violence includes physical, psychological, and sexual aggression towards another individual. Generally speaking, up to 60% of college students have experienced at least one incident of physical violence in a dating relationship. Out of that 60% of college students, 32% of them are victims of IPV. And again, IPV stands for Intimate Partner Violence. 53% of victims of physical abuse were abused by a former girlfriend or boyfriend, and 25% of victims of physical abuse were abused by a total stranger. Now I'm going to get into the physical effects of physical abuse. There are short-term effects and there are long-term effects. Short-term effects of physical abuse can vary to cuts, bruises, or even broken bones. However, these short-term effects can lead into long-term effects. And long-term effects include arthritis. You can develop heart disease, STDs. STDs in some cases if the sexual abuse comes part of the physical abuse. There are some scenarios when the victim is a woman and that woman could be pregnant, and physical effects of that physical abuse can be poor weight gain. The woman can miscarry the baby, or if the baby survives the physical abuse, at birth they can be diagnosed with low infant birth weight. Some psychological effects of physical abuse. Big major one is depression. You can develop depression, which is a primary psychological response to physical abuse. But drugs and alcohol can come into play and are also very common as well. Besides depression, there are also three major psychological effects of physical abuse. And those include panic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and suicidal behavior. So I was questioning what college campuses are doing specifically to keep these victims of physical abuse safe on campus. And you guys are probably aware of these blue emergency light posts scattered throughout campus to keep college students safe. And you guys are going to watch a video in a second of specifically over at NAU what these light posts do and why they exist. So enjoy.
In an exciting term ahead, staying safe on campus might be the last thing that new and returning students are thinking about.
That's right, and Alex Cicero went down to the campus police department to talk to Officer Chris Anderson about some of the dangers that college students face.
Now that a new school year is here at NAU, students and faculty need to be aware and safe at all times during the day. As NAU Police Officer Christopher Anderson explains, NAU PD offers safety programs for students, including their blue light system.
The blue light system is a series of emergency telephone systems. There's about 120, give or take. It changes with construction and new construction on campus. We're adding new blue phones every year, most of them with one of the blue lights on top of a big post. And that's just like dialing 911. If you walk up to any of those phones, you can hit the big red button on it, and it connects you straight to our emergency dispatch system. We do have call boxes on the outside of all the residence halls as well, and there are 2 buttons on there, one to call the front desk of that hall and one to call the emergency dispatch. And sometimes we'll get people mixing the 2 things up, and we ask that if you do accidentally hit the wrong button, tell our dispatcher that everything's okay and there's not an emergency.
And with a growing student population every year, NAU PD makes sure that they adapt to the growing campus.
We do grow as a police department every year. This year we hired another 2 officers to mirror the growth of the student population. And we're out there very proactively working with the rest of the campus community and all the different departments to make sure that we're making the appropriate adjustments as the university grows.
Officer Anderson is confident that as long as students are smart and utilize the programs NAU PD offers, they will be safe.
But safety is everybody's responsibility. So we ask that people don't walk alone at night. They use our escort system. We have a lot of programs on campus that are specifically geared towards students staying safe. And if they take advantage of a lot of the programs that we have in place for them, they're going to work wonders for their own safety.
For NAZ Today, I'm Alex Lucero.
So my topic was neglect in childhood and how it affects young adults in college. And I just wanted to start out by talking about some statistics of childhood neglect. So about 700,000 kids in America right now are abused every year. 80% of those are from neglect. I think 9% are from sexual abuse and 18% are from physical abuse. There are 4 really recognized different types of neglect. These 4 are physical, educational, medical, and emotional. Emotional neglect can be the hardest to pick up on, and it's the one that people often most get away with because it doesn't really leave any physical scars. If you're being physically abused or sexually abused, there are going to be physical consequences of that, and so emotional abuse is, I guess, easier to get away with. So I just wanted to talk about how this can affect the college student once they develop into a young adult, and it can affect them in so many ways, but the ones that I talked about were how it affects them in physiological ways, in their brain functionings, how it affects their social relationships, and how it affects their overall abilities as a student, their concentration abilities and just how they are able to function in college. So the 5 major parts of the brain that are affected by maltreatment over time are the hippocampus, the corpus callosum, the cerebellum, the prefrontal cortex, and the amygdala. And what happens in these areas is the brain tissue deteriorates over time, and these parts of the brains are not able to carry out their functions as well as they should be able to. And 2 parts of the nervous system that are affected that aren't really exactly the brain are the cortisol levels are fluctuated and levels of homeostasis are also fluctuated. And what cortisol levels do when they're impaired is it can cause you to have lower energy levels, it can cause impairments in learning and social abilities, and you can be a lot more susceptible to autoimmune and affective disorders. And when your homeostasis is affected, you have a huge decrease in brain activity, metabolism, and a lot less ability to maintain higher functioning thinking, abstract and complex thinking. It's just not as easy for you. Being neglected by your caregivers as a young child can really affect your trust in the world and your trust for other people, because they're supposed to be your safety net, and they're supposed to be the people who teach you your moral code and teach you how to interact with others and teach you how to regulate your emotions and stuff like that. And so if you can't really trust these very paramount people in your life, it's harder for you to maintain relationships throughout your life, which can be especially difficult in college because social relationships in college have a huge emphasis put on them because they have so many benefits. You can get professional connections from them for your future careers. You can develop a lot better study habits. It can release stress, and you can just increase your self-confidence with the more amount of friends that you have. Being neglected as a child can lead to not only low self-esteem, which can also disrupt your personal relationships, but it can lead to mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And when you're living with these kind of illnesses, it's a lot harder for you to even do the simplest of tasks. With ADHD, it'll be much harder for you to concentrate and organize yourself just in your own life. So that on top of college life, having to pay bills and maintain a job if you have one, and maintain good grades and maintain a social life and kind of discover who you are as a person, it becomes a lot harder for these people who have been emotionally neglected because of all the things that they've had to go through.